everyone, and welcome to my 2025 reading journal flip through. This is my first time making a reading journal, and I'm so excited to continue to work on it through the year and see how it all comes together at the end of 2025. This journal was made primarily using things that I already owned, including the journal itself, a pad of scrapbooking paper, and the dotted and brown craft paper that you'll see throughout the pages. One important thing that this journal taught me was to really embrace imperfections. I'll admit that I'm a bit of a perfectionist at heart, but this project really helped me to realize that errors and mistakes are part of being human, and that sometimes those very mistakes can actually infuse a lot of character and charm into your project and really make it your own. My reading journal might not be as polished as others you might see, but I'm really happy with the outcome and really glad with what I made. So with that, let's get into the flip through. Starting things off, you can see that I made a fabric cover for my journal. One of the bigger mistakes that I made in the project that you can see right here are these pages that are sticking out kind of far. And this is because I didn't realize early on when I was laying down the scrapbook paper that I really should have removed some of the extra pages in the journal, like the ones here in the back, to just kind of offset the bulkiness of the scrapbook paper. And as a result, the binding of my journal broke along the seam, and it resulted in these pages kind of sticking out further than they should. I ended up having to use duct tape to keep the front cover from completely ripping off the binding, and that made the outside of the journal kind of unsightly. So a way to fix that was to make this really nice fabric cover with cute little butterflies on it, and it was a really easy way to kind of make the outside of the journal pretty again. This cover easily slips on and off, and I added a length of elastic here to help keep the journal shut. You can see there's one here and here at the end, and it just easily kind of slips right off. Okay, so let's get into the actual journal. Starting it off, you see my cover pages. It gives you a good overall theme of the journal straight away. I had this really beautiful pad of scrapbooking paper with really delicate kind of floral designs, and I thought it would work really well for this reading journal. Also, I was kind of working my way through the Bridgerton series while I was making this journal, and I think that also influenced my choices on the theming. I just really liked the colors and the butterflies and florals, and I think it just worked out really, really well. Okay, next we have my index page, and it's just pretty straightforward. I really like how all of the florals and the soft greens mix together. One thing I really want to point out, because I made them kind of intentionally melt into the background of each page, are these teensy little butterflies, and you'll find them on each page, and they just kind of denote the numbers of these pages. And I think they're so cute, and they don't distract from the theme overall if like I had put a big sticker or something with the page number. So I thought that was really cute, and I like how it turned out. Next, we have a page for my reading goals for the year and books to read. I kept my reading goals pretty simple because I read for enjoyment, and I often tend to go kind of like with a mood, like whatever mood I'm in is whatever kind of book I'll read. So I found that if I burdened myself with unreachable goals or goals that were just too much, that it no longer felt fun for me. So I kept things simple: read 20 books, read 40, and then read 60 books. Usually I read somewhere between 40 and 50 a year, then read 5 physical books and 5 ebooks. Generally, I tend to read through audiobooks, but I really want to get more into physical reading again this year. read a new to me series, read 5 books from the books to read list over here, read all of the recommended reads, use this journal, and just have fun. The books to read list is basically just a list of books I'm interested in, but I haven't gotten around to yet, and I'd like to read as many as I could this year, if possible. Okay. Next, we have my recommended reads and my 2025 visual bookshelf. Over here, I got recommendations from friends and family for some new and interesting books that I haven't read to read this year. And next to that, we have the bookshelf, which I did on my own here. Along the bottom, we have a legend for the genres that I generally typically read. And throughout the year, as I read a book, I'll color in based on whatever genre the book is and write the title as well. And near the end of the year, it should be really interesting to look at. Very colorful. Next, we have my series tracker, where I can keep track of any of the book series that I'm reading throughout the year, like the name, and then just like 1, 2, 3, or 4, whatever I end up reading. And then over here we have my ratings guide, and basically a did not finish spread. This is for any books that I didn't like or I just couldn't get through. And I kept my ratings guide pretty simple this year. I'll probably be using 0.5s as well from time to time, but I didn't want to get overly complicated with my ratings guide. Next we have my book log for the year, and this is where I can keep track of each and every book that I read with the date, read, and the rating. To ensure I had enough space, I made this cute little Dutch door. You can see here, again, another thing that I had to embrace was my marker that I was using to denote every other line kind of started running out. So I ended up having to go with a different color. But again, something to embrace. It makes it fun and quirky. Next, we have my visual tracker, which is basically exactly like the previous book log page, but it's in a visual format. I'll be adding the covers of each book that I read with its rating underneath. So, for example, I've started reading Throne of Glass. When I'm done, I'll add the cover here and put the rating underneath. I have 4 pages for this just to ensure that I had lots of room. Alright, next up we have Book of the Month and Book of the Year. These are going to have all the covers, again, of each book that I really liked, and I realized that these 2 pages might end up looking pretty similar near the end of the year, but you never know. Maybe I end up reading a couple of books in one of the month and I have to only pick one of them that's the best, but I think maybe like it might end up being somewhat in my best of the year. So it'll be fun and interesting to see how this plays out at the end. Next up, we have a spread to kind of go into further detail about my top 12 of the year. And it's just a way for me to jot down my thoughts on why I loved these books so much and remind me how and why they were the best of the year. I also included another little Dutch door with this spread, just to make sure I had enough space and room for everything. All right, these next 2 pages I'm really happy with, and I'm interested to see how they're going to be because these are my end of the year stats. I always find things like this really, really interesting, like how many pages you read or what your favorite genre of the year was, and I wanted to visually put that in my journal in some kind of form, and that's going to be with bar graphs. I think these pages will look really neat at the end of the year. I have books read per month, which will showcase just exactly how many books I read per month. This one is the reading types, whether it's physical, ebook, or audio. Books by the page showcases books based on how long they are. If I read 400, 500, 600 page books, what genre was it will showcase what and how many types of genres I read throughout the year. And finally, when was it written, which just denotes what year the book was written. And it'll be really interesting, I think, to see just how many books I read based on the years. Like, I'm assuming that a lot of it's going to be in this kind of era, but you never know. Right, over the next few pages, we have our monthly spreads. Here I can keep track of each book read throughout the month, the best and worst of the month. This will definitely help me figure out which books to put back here on the best book of the month spread. And then I've got a little monthly reflections spot here where I can just kind of account for life events or anything that I want that's interesting, whether it's reading or not, just to put down here as a memory of what happened each month. We have January and February here, March and April, May and June, July and August, September and October, and finally November and December. These last few pages in my journal kind of go against the grain, but they were something I really wanted to add because I felt that they kind of belonged in here too. Firstly, we have this 2-page spread for TV shows and series watched. I think it's really interesting to look back throughout the year and see what you watched and how much you enjoyed it, because sometimes we tend to consume so much content and it's hard to remember it all. And I know sometimes I like to go back and rewatch favorite TV shows, and this is a really good, interesting way to find out what those favorites were and just figure out how much you watched throughout the year. This next page is very similar. It's for movies watched in 2025. And then on this page, I have a spread called Besties Binge Watch, which is for cataloging any shows or movies that I buddy watch together with a friend of mine. We tend to get together over FaceTime once a week, and we watch a show or a movie together, and I think it's a really great bonding experience and a great way to keep track of everything we watch and look back on later on in 2025. And lastly, we have a spread for noteworthy music that I listened to in 2025, as well as any games played this year. On the final page, I have something called Check This Out, which is just a simple spread for me to write down anything, be it a show or a movie or a game or even a book that I'm interested in that I can kind of come back to if I'm ever bored or indecisive and want something to do. Instead of spending hours scrolling through Netflix trying to find something, I think it'll be easier if I just come back here and say, oh, this is a show that I was interested in and maybe I should give it a try. After this, we just have some blank pages in case I want to add anything more to my journal throughout the year. And this is what the journal originally looked like. It had these lined kind of yellowy pages, and I didn't really love the look of them. I really wanted to have more of the dot kind because I felt it would be easier to figure out things. And then finally, at the end, we have a nice decorative back cover and a little pocket back here where I can store whatever I need, mostly my pre-cut book covers or stickers or anything else I want to keep on hand for the journal. And that's it. Thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed this little flip through of my first ever reading journal. I hope to put out another video like this halfway through the year and again at the end of the year to showcase everything I read and watched or did in 2025. And if you're interested and want to see more content like this, please let me know. Send me a comment and tell me exactly what you'd like to see. Thanks again. Have a great 2025 and happy reading. Bye.